There are places in this world where history and nightmare blend so seamlessly that it becomes impossible to tell where one ends and the other begins. Houska Castle, hidden deep within the dense forests of the Czech countryside, is one such place. Built atop a desolate cliff in the 13th century, far from trade routes, villages, or any strategic importance, its very existence raises more questions than it answers. Why would a king construct an immense fortress in the middle of nowhere? Why were its walls built to guard the inside rather than protect against the outside world? And why even now does the air feel so heavy with unseen dread? Locals have long whispered the answer. Houska was never meant to keep invaders out. It was meant to keep something else in. Beneath the castle's crumbling chapel lies a dark, ancient chasm, a pit so deep that no bottom has ever been found. A pit that once, according to legend, vomited forth nightmarish creatures onto the earth. It was said that the castle was built to seal a portal to hell itself, trapping whatever horrors clawed their way toward the world of the living. But stones and mortar are not perfect prisons. The darkness beneath Houska Castle has never truly slept. From blood-chilling medieval legends, to the black rites of occultists, to modern-day paranormal investigations, the story of Houska is a tapestry woven with fear, death, and the unknown. It is a place where time falters, where shadows seem thicker, where unseen forces press against the veil of reality. This is not just history, it is a descent. Welcome to Houska Castle, the gateway to hell. Join me and my very special guest, Peter Laws, from Into the Fog, as we explore this dark and very creepy place. Please also make sure you're subscribed to both of us, because if you enjoy my work, I'm sure you'll enjoy Peter's as well, and hopefully vice versa. Now, let's get into the content. Houska, or Houska Castle, stands deep in the forests north of Prague. Built in the mid-13th century under the reign of Bohemian king Ottokar II, who reigned from 1253 to 1278. Historians debate its exact founding. Some believe Ottokar II ordered its construction around the 1260s, while others argue that it was built shortly after his death by nobleman Heinrich, or Henry, of Duba in the 1280s. The first written record of Houska dates to 1291, noting a royal burgov posted there. Uniquely, Houska Castle was not established as a typical medieval fortress or feudal seat. It was set in a remote, swampy woodland far from trade routes, on a rocky cliff in the Sudeten Mountains. At completion, it had no occupants and seemingly no practical purpose. It lacked external fortifications, had no water source except a rain cistern, and even lacked a kitchen. Its defensive walls curiously faced inward toward its central courtyard, an anomaly that later fed dark speculation about what the castle was built to contain. In the late 1200s and 1300s, Houska came into the possession of the Berka of Duba aristocratic family. Lord Heinrich Berka and his sons held the castle through the 14th century, even expanding their domain. Notably, during the Hussite Wars during the early 1400s, Houska saw little conflict or damage. Its lords remained neutral, and so the castle escaped the era's widespread destruction. Over the 15th and 16th centuries, ownership passed among noble families, and the structure received some Renaissance-style updates between 1584 and 1590. However, Houska was never a bustling residence. By the 1700s, it was largely abandoned, a decaying relic overshadowed by grander estates. A modest restoration in 1823 salvaged the crumbling Gothic architecture, and later, a wealthy aristocrat, Princess Hohenlohe, bought the castle in 1897. In 1924, it was acquired by Josef Semenek, president of the Skoda Works, who renovated it in 1929 into 1930 and used it as a family retreat. Through all these centuries, Houska Castle remained strangely aloof from history's mainstream, a quiet, brooding stone shell with an ominous reputation that far outweighed its modest role in politics or war. Local legend insists Houska Castle's true purpose was not defensive or administrative at all, but supernatural. Folklore dating back to its construction claims the castle was built to seal a yawning chasm in the bedrock, a bottomless pit that the locals believed was a gateway to hell itself. According to myth, before the castle's foundation was laid, villagers witnessed uncanny phenomena around the rocky crevice. Winged creatures and half-human monsters were said to crawl out of the gaping hole at night, and strange beasts prowled the woods, leaving blood trails in their wake. The pit appeared endlessly deep. Attempts to fill it with rocks never reached a bottom. Terrified peasants whispered that dark, demonic forces emanated from this crack in the earth, that they oftentimes heard whispers coming from it. When the crown decided to build a castle on the spot, legend has it that condemned prisoners were recruited in the most horrifying way. Chronicles say that during construction, prisoners sentenced to death were offered a full pardon if they agreed to be lowered by rope into the dreaded hole and report what lay below. The first volunteer, a young man, was lowered down as onlookers watched in tense silence. Within moments, he emitted a blood-curdling scream. The workers hastily hauled him up and found the man in a state of utter madness. In the few seconds underground, his hair had turned white and his skin wrinkled as though he had aged decades. Raving about grotesque creatures and unbearable darkness, he could hardly speak before collapsing. Some versions say he died a couple days later, still in terror. Needless to say, no other prisoner volunteered to descend after that, and the gaping hell mouth was swiftly covered over. Massive stone slabs were used to cap the pit, and Houska's chapel was built directly above that infernal opening as a sacred seal. Tellingly, the chapel was dedicated to Archangel Michael, the commander of heaven's forces who cast down Lucifer, a fitting guardian to stand watch over a supposed gateway to hell. Many eerie tales grew from this foundation. It was said that once Houska Castle's walls encased the pit, the nightly sightings of winged demons ceased, as if the evil had been trapped below. Still, ghosts and unnatural creatures remained part of Houska's lore. A black-robed monk spirit is rumored to roam near the chapel, charged with ensuring the demons stay sealed in. Other reported apparitions include a giant bullfrog-human hybrid hopping in the courtyard, a headless horse trotting the castle, and even an old crone who silently prowls the corridors. Locals in nearby villages long avoided the castle, believing only malevolent things dwelt there. Some claim to hear inhuman screams, or a furious scratching sound under the chapel floor, as if something underneath was desperately clawing at the stones. In the 17th century, during the chaotic 30 Years' War, Houska acquired a new dark tale. A roving Swedish mercenary knight named Aronto allegedly took up residence in the abandoned castle, drawn by its sinister reputation. Aronto was said to practice black magic and alchemy within Houska's walls, attempting to harness infernal powers and concoct an elixir of eternal life. He conducted bizarre experiments at night, possibly trying to tap the dark energy of the sealed pit below. Aronto's occult activities so terrified the countryside that, according to legend, 2 local hunters stormed the castle one night and assassinated him in his laboratory, putting an end to whatever unholy rites he was conducting. Aronto's death did not dispel Houska's aura of dread, however. If anything, it reinforced the idea that only those with evil intent would dare dwell there. Another famous story emerged in the 19th century. In 1836, the renowned Czech poet Karel Hynek Mácha supposedly spent a night in Houska Castle, which was then in ruins. Mácha later wrote a letter describing a terrifying vision he experienced there. He dreamt that he discovered a dark hole in Houska's courtyard, and upon peering in, was suddenly transported into a strange realm. He found himself in the city of Prague, but it was in the far future. The poet wandered a Prague choked in smog, filled with mechanized monstrosities of technology under a dark sky. In this nightmarish futuristic vision, so the story goes, a young girl approached and cryptically told him that he was in a little hell of his own time. Mácha then saw glowing lights and sandstone cliffs, eerily resembling modern apartment blocks. Before awakening back in the castle, he was deeply disturbed, and strikingly, Mácha died shortly after this incident, at the age of only 25. This tale has led some to speculate that the gateway under Houska may not only lead to hell, but perhaps to other dimensions or times, offering fodder for the castle's mystique as a place where the normal laws of reality fray. Over the centuries, Houska's sinister legends have persisted. The chapel's faded facade fuels imagination. One 14th century painting bizarrely depicts a centaur-like female creature aiming a bow with her left hand, and left-handed figures were often associated with the devil in medieval lore. This pagan image, among otherwise Christian murals of saints and angels, is often pointed out as evidence of the castle's arcane purpose, an unresolved mystery on the chapel wall. To this day, local folklore holds that Houska was built to keep something in, and the bizarre myths of half-animal demons, ageless prisoners, phantom monks, and time-twisting visions have made Houska one of Europe's most notorious supernatural sites. Despite its ghostly reputation, Houska Castle mostly slumbered through the 1800s and early 1900s as a private estate. That changed with the outbreak of World War II. After National Socialist Germany occupied Czechoslovakia in 1939, the German army, the Wehrmacht, seized Houska Castle and held it through the war until 1945. Because Houska had no strategic military value, it's remote and not on transport routes, its occupation immediately sparked rumors. Locals observed that the castle was heavily guarded by Nazi SS units and off-limits, and they reported strange lights and noises emanating from it at night. whispers spread that the Nazis were conducting secret experiments inside houska's thick walls, perhaps delving into the occult lore of the gateway to hell beneath the chapel. Some speculated that their scientists were trying to harness demonic powers, or even reopen the pit to hell in hopes of exploiting supernatural forces to win the war. Others believed the castle might have been used for esoteric research or developing paranormal weapons. These theories, though fantastical, resonated because the regime notably pursued occult artifacts like the Holy Grail and Spear of Destiny and arcane research in various parts of Europe, specifically the Schutzstaffel for the SS. What was really happening at Houska during World War II? Hard evidence is scarce, and many records were lost or destroyed, but some documents have surfaced. In 1943, the German RSHA, or Reich Main Security Office, converted Houska Castle into a secret repository, codenamed Burgon II. The castle became one of 4 sites in northern Bohemia used to store archives and confiscated collections from Europe. Specifically, truckloads of books and files were moved from bomb-threatened libraries in Berlin and Hamburg and stashed at Houska. Notably, among these were volumes on Jewish mysticism and Masonic lore, materials the Nazis had seized, possibly including occult texts. This fuels the idea that Houska's overseers were indeed poring over occult literature. According to later testimonies and legend, some evidence was found after the war, such as a cache of old books on the black arts reportedly left behind, and even skeletons of German soldiers hidden under floors, said to have been executed by their own in ritualistic killings. It's hard to verify such claims, but they have become a part of Houska's haunted legacy. The notion that rituals took place under the National Socialist flag. Locals noted that the Nazis mined the perimeter of the castle heavily, which they interpret as the occupiers wanting to protect something in Houska more than an ordinary site. Even as Allied victory drew near, when the Germans finally fled in 1945, they left behind an aura of mystery that only magnified Houska's dark legend in the modern era. After World War II, Houska Castle was returned to the Simonek family, but under communist rule in Czechoslovakia, it was seized by the state. In the 1950s, the castle was repurposed as a repository once again, this time holding archives for Prague's National Library. By the 1970s, a chemical company even planned to use Houska as a workers' recreation center or sanatorium. A strange fate surely for a place considered a portal to hell. That plan never fully materialized, but a curious event did occur in 1974. The Czech underground rock band, the Plastic People of the Universe, dissident artists, managed to record a live album inside the empty castle, taking advantage of the acoustics and seclusion. The fact that a counterculture band sought out Houska only adds to its quirky modern history. Following the fall of communism in 1989, Houska was again given back to its rightful owners, the Simonek descendants, who then overtook restorations. By 1999, the castle was open to the public for the first time in its existence. Tourists now walk its courtyard and chapel freely, but many swear that an oppressive atmosphere lingers. Indeed, post-war visitors and staff have continued to report unearthly experiences, apparitions in uniforms, unexplained bloodstains appearing and disappearing, and a pervasive feeling that unseen eyes are watching from dark corners. Even after surviving real-world wars and decades of neglect, Houska's malevolent reputation has only grown stronger.
In recent decades, Houska Castle has become a magnet for paranormal investigators, researchers, and thrill seekers drawn by its ghost stories. Television crews from around the world have descended upon Houska to explore its gate to hell lore. In 2009, the American team from Ghost Hunters International filmed an episode on site. They documented the castle's creepy vaults and the chapel. You'll find that in Season 2, Episode 3, titled Gates to Hell. The investigators experienced battery drains on their equipment and eerie audio recordings. One EVP, that's electronic voice phenomena, captured a guttural voice in an empty cell. And team members reported feeling sudden chills in the chapel, despite the summer heat, as mentioned in the episode. The following year, in 2010, the UK's Most Haunted broadcast a live overnight investigation from Houska. That crew also described disembodied footsteps and a phantom figure in black seen fleetingly on the chapel stairs. By 2013, a French paranormal series, RIP, Recherche Investigations Paranormal, came to Houska to probe the Hellgate legend. Each team left with intriguing, if inconclusive, evidence: unexplained shadows on video, mysteriously moving objects, and audio anomalies. While skeptics might attribute these to the power of suggestion, even hardened investigators admitted Houska gave them the creeps, more than most locations. Local Czech researchers have also studied Houska's hauntings. In 2014, a collaboration of Czech paranormal investigators conducted an extensive overnight vigil inside the castle. They had support from a Prague television crew. And they treated Houska as Case 7 in their files. And during this research, multiple cameras and sensors were set up from dusk until dawn. The results were unsettling. One stationary camera was found inexplicably moved from its original position while no one was in the room. Loud bangs echoed in the chapel around 3 a.m., the so-called Devil's Hour. It woke a journalist who was sleeping there as a test. Investigators even found scratch marks on one team member's back the next morning, which he couldn't explain. Another reported a sudden burning pain in his chest in the middle of the night, and a red welt appeared, only to vanish without a trace by the time they left the castle. Technical difficulties plagued the investigation as well. A full 14 hours of infrared video footage inexplicably corrupted on the storage drive, almost as if whatever lurks in Houska did not want to be recorded. And yet the team did capture several clear EVPs. One recording from the chapel contained a deep voice speaking in what sounded like an archaic dialect of German or Latin, and the word seraph, meaning an angelic being, was discerned in the whispering mix. Such findings have only cemented Houska's status among paranormal enthusiasts as one of the world's most active haunted sites. Visitors and staff continue to witness inexplicable phenomena. Castle guides have testified to seeing a faceless dark figure in a monk's robe gliding along the chapel corridor. Presumably, it's the legendary guardian in black, keeping eternal watch. Tourists frequently feel dizzy or oppressed near the chapel's crypt, and some faint upon peering down the grated hole that legend calls the bottomless pit. In the courtyard, people have reported encounters with spectral animals, a giant black hound-like beast that vanishes as one approaches it, and even flocks of dead birds found inexplicably strewn about after nights of stormy weather. Nearby woods are the scene of alleged sightings of hybrid creatures reminiscent of old myths, half human, half dogs, flitting between the trees at twilight. The sound of horses' hooves echo on occasion, even though no horses have been at houska for decades, brings to mind the fabled headless horse. There are also modern reports of a ghostly woman in an old-fashioned dress, sobbing in the castle's green chamber, and an apparition of a headless man in a blood-stained shirt stumbling near the gatehouse, possibly a victim of some forgotten medieval crime, reenacting his death. Houska Castle today capitalizes on its chilling legends. It hosts regular tours and even paranormal investigation nights. And yet, despite the crowds that now roam its once forbidden halls, many attest that when you find yourself alone in a corner of Houska, an unsettling silence falls, and the hair on your arms prickle. It's as if the castle remembers its ancient duty to stand guard over an unspeakable darkness. And that memory permeates the stone from its Gothic birth as a seal on hell, through centuries of ghost stories to Nazi-era mysteries and cutting-edge ghost hunts. Houska Castle offers an unparalleled tapestry of history and horror. Its chronicle interweaves verified facts with vivid folklore, providing rich inspiration for many supernatural tales. As one modern visitor put it, after a long midnight vigil within Houska's castle, they said, "You leave this castle with the uneasy feeling that something followed you out." A sentiment that encapsulates why Houska's legacy endures. Each era of Houska's story, from medieval chronicles to modern ghost hunts, contributes a chapter to what is ultimately the enduring enigma of Houska Castle, a place where history and the supernatural are inextricably entwined.
Houska Castle stands still, brooding against the cold winds that sweep the Czech wilderness. A silent guardian, or perhaps a silent jailer. Its ancient stones are weathered, but unbroken. Its dark halls echo with centuries of whispered prayers, desperate bargains, and unseen footsteps that seem to trace the same doomed paths again and again. The bottomless pit beneath its chapel remains sealed for now. Visitors come and go, some leaving with heavy hearts, some never able to explain the nightmares that follow them home. Equipment fails, lights flicker, voices whisper in languages no human tongue has spoken in centuries. And always, deep beneath the worn flags of the chapel floor, something stirs. It waits. Time has marched past Houska Castle. Kingdoms have risen and fallen. Wars have come and gone. Yet the darkness here remains untouched, patient, eternal, and perhaps hungry. The question has never been whether the legends are true. The real question is this: how long can the seal hold? And if it should break, what might crawl free into the world once more? Thank you guys so much for joining me and my special guest, Peter Laws from Into the Fog, here on this latest episode. I hope you found the subject matter fascinating, and if you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to both myself and Peter, and leave me a comment below. Also share this video around and or watch another one of ours after the video ends. I did also want to take a brief moment to let you guys know that I've added some new merchandise to my online store, and there's going to be a lot more to come there as well. So if you'd like to support the channel directly and get something cool in return, definitely check it out at mysteryarchives.myshopify.com. You can also watch all of my content ad-free by becoming a channel member, which, if you're subscribed, you just click join here on YouTube to do so. Or you can visit patreon.com/mysteryarchives and join there. I appreciate all of you guys so much. And like I've said in the last couple community posts, I have several things in the works, including some stuff from my all-new creepypasta channel, which just covers fictional stories by yours truly, called Cody's Creepies. I not only appreciate your guys' patience, but your support. And I really mean that, and I hope I don't sound overly redundant. And as always, this has been Cody here at Mystery Archives. Make sure to stay safe out there from demons lurking in the shadows and more. And I will see you next time with another brand new episode. Until then, take care.